For the next 4 months, our Sunday Gospels will be from St. Luke. This Sunday, we're reading from the 9th chapter of his Gospel, which describes a crucial turning point in the life of Jesus. So after teaching and healing and performing wonders for the people of Galilee, Jesus asks his disciples, "Who do people say I am?" And they give various answers. And then he asks them, "Who do you say I am?" Of course, Luke wants us to hear that question too. Who do we say Jesus is? And then Jesus announces he must go up to Jerusalem. Now listen to Luke's description of that decision. When the days for Jesus being taken up were fulfilled, he resolutely determined to journey to Jerusalem, and he sent messengers ahead of him. So he goes up to Jerusalem. When the days of being taken up were fulfilled, in other words, Jesus will pass from this world to his Father. He journeys to Jerusalem to suffer and to die and rise again. He'll be taken up. And he doesn't make that journey alone. He calls disciples to follow him. But he calls us also to follow him, not just a few disciples. Greater than Elijah, Jesus gives his mantle to many, to be taken up with him and to share his reward. The messengers sent before him are meant to gather as many as they can. Now, the Lord gives a very simple criteria for following him. Take up your cross daily and follow me, he says. Now, what's the cross he asks us to take up? It's not a cross of wood that he himself bore. It's an everyday cross, not nails in our hands or feet or scourges on our back. It's the everyday cross we carry all the time, wherever we are. It's the cross that comes from living our lives. Often it's the cross of ourselves. It can be from sickness or old age or disappointments or worry or the constant pressures of everyday life. It can come from the violence and uncertainties of our world today. It's there all the time. Jesus tells us, carry it. In today's gospel, he says something else about following him, which we find hard to understand. A man wants to bury his father before following him. Let the dead bury their dead, he says. Someone wants to say goodbye to his family first. No one who sets a hand to the plow and looks for what's left behind is fit for the kingdom of heaven. That sounds hard and unreasonable, doesn't it? But it's really a strong way of saying that we have to make our relationship to God our first relationship. Jesus is the Word of God. We have to listen to him and follow him. Of course, some think you can do that alone. God makes no difference. God's only a backup. But we don't live life alone. God gives us life and all we need to live. We're on the road to Jerusalem, and Jesus says, follow him. We're not perfect, but those he called on the road to Jerusalem weren't perfect either. According to Luke's gospel, they were the lost sheep, the prodigal children, the blind on the road, the crooked tax collector. They heard Jesus call, and they followed him. And so should we.